Oh, Father, may I please watch the television?
Have you finished your homework?
No.
Oh well, go on then.
Yippee! Oh, I do love a spot of science fiction.
Oh, Doctor, isn't this place dangerous? Nonsense, my child. We're on a desolate, volatile alien world. There's no danger to be found here. Look out!
Would you care for a cream cheese bagel? I mean, exterminate. Exterminate. Exterminate.
I will have nightmares for the rest of my life.
I can't think of.
Oh yes, before I forget.
I have
Son,
the limited
where?
vocabulary.
What are you doing down there, boy?
Are you
Father,
threatened
the
by
television's
my
scary.
robotic design? I am
What?
assaulted.
It's just a bunch of salt and pepper shakers. Oh my gosh, they're alive! They're sentient! This is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life for some reason!
Boom ba down, 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 bid it 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 down, hey.
I regenerated a new haircut, get over it. The Daleks is the second ever Doctor Who serial produced way back in 1963. I won't dive too heavily into specific plot details because of all the classic episodes back in William Hartnell's run as the Doctor. I think this is one that people will probably gravitate towards and check out first, given its historic status as the first time we ever see the Daleks in the show. Is it worth that historic status? Well, we'll see. The first chapter picks up pretty much where An Unearthly Child left off, with the Doctor and his obnoxious attitude disregarding the safety of everyone around him to satiate his own curiosity. The basic gist of the story is this. The Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara arrive on another alien world following their ordeal with the cavemen. While venturing into a high-tech city, the group are split up, reunited, held captive, and eventually escape the clutches of the sinister Daleks. The plot could have easily wrapped up then and there, but a convoluted reason has come up with to force them to go back into the city, this time with the help of the humanoid race of the Thals. I swear, if I ever have to hear about that damn fluid link again...
Yes, of course, the fluid link.
I must confess, it's been a long time since I've seen Genesis of the Daleks, so I'm not entirely certain where this lines up on the overall Dalek timeline. Not that it particularly matters in the context of the show yet, just something fun for returning viewers to try and piece together, although I'm sure there's already like a fan-made timeline of every interaction between the Doctor and his greatest foes. Alright, I've got to admit it, this is one of the only first season Doctor Who episodes I've already watched before, although years ago. And I'm surprised how little I actually remember of it. Seriously, aside from the hilarious way they figure out how to defeat a Dalek, I'd forgotten all about the Thals, the swamp, the caves. Heck, I was surprised when they mentioned what planet they were on.
Spoilers.
Speaking of the hilarious method of defeating a Dalek by smushing mud in its eye socket, then gently pushing it onto a bit of fabric, I know that this is the first time Daleks appear in the show, and they haven't had years of development and evolution yet, but the Daleks are kind of pathetic here.
Radioscopes are recording great activity amongst the Thal people. Are there pictures? No, reception is bad.
I don't mean that as a criticism, by the way, it's just something that made me laugh my head off. There's actually some pretty bizarre examples of early Dalek lore in this one. For instance, their weapons have the capacity to kill as well as paralyze legs. They're seen to have claws instead of tentacles. Oh, and of course, one of the Thals mentions, and I quote, "The Daleks used to be philosophers and teachers." Okay.
Big Finish Productions proudly presents an excerpt from the upcoming audiobook A Philosophy on Life by Professor Dale Kay.
Exterminate. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
There's more than a few unintentionally hilarious moments in these early episodes, my personal favourite of which being this dramatic reveal.
What is it? What's the matter?
How about this glorious scene where Ian sets out to warn the incoming Thals of an ambush, only to stand by for ages, waiting for one of them to slowly look around and eventually get blasted by the obvious Daleks sitting out in plain view. Good job, Ian. And he even has the gall to bring up later how upset he is over being too slow to save him. Fool, you had plenty of time to warn him of the obvious ambush, and you just stood there. Moments like this don't ruin the show. Quite the contrary, actually. I love the silly, goofy nature of it all. Whether it be budget constraints, over-the-top scenarios, or just plain old-fashioned television, there's always a guarantee of a good mixture of genuinely good sci-fi and laugh-inducing hilarity.
We're the bubble bath of death.
Is he gonna move or he's just... It's a whirlpool and he's just gotta stare at it. You're not gonna run away?
The acting is still top-notch, although this is where the occasional flubbed line starts to sneak its way through, particularly in William Hartnell's case. Again, it doesn't ruin anything, it's just something I can't help but notice.
A lot of the gravitas has been replaced by whimsical glances into the middle distance.
The standout moment I think here is the confrontation between Ian and Susan and the Doctor and Barbara, where they have to bring into question the morals and ethics regarding whether or not to ask strangers to potentially put their lives on the line for them. It was a great scene with unusual pairings after always seeing the Doctor and Susan having their dynamic. Meanwhile, Ian and Barbara are always off doing their own thing. This time, it's Susan siding with Ian against the loss of life, with Barbara aligning herself more with the Doctor's selfish views. A small scene, but a great one that showcases lots of superb acting, writing, and emotional conundrums. On a final note, same as last time, my only real negative with this serial is another repetitive, annoying sound effect. Clearly the scenes shot inside the city were filmed on metal or concrete floors, so every footstep was just that little bit too loud. I know this sounds like the pettiest nitpick, but try to understand I like to watch TV with headphones on, so to hear the constant tick 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 right loud in my ears was driving me mad. Also, I couldn't find a way to relate this to anything, but this TARDIS, which needs soil samples in order to determine what planet it's landed on, apparently has this magical food dispenser that can immediately create any food or drink you set your mind to with the push of a button. Though, to be fair, if I had the choice between a space GPS and a magic kitchen that provided food instantaneously, I know what I would choose. So there you have it! The Daleks is an interesting introduction into what would soon become one of the greatest returning villains in the show's history. I thought they could have wrapped it up after Chapter 4 started to drag, but at the very least, Chapters 5 to 7 gave us some pretty interesting and varied locations, as well as a fairly satisfactory conclusion. While not exactly a standout classic, I'd still easily recommend giving this one a revisit, simply for the novelty of experiencing the first time we ever got to encounter the iconic Daleks. Next time, we'll be reviewing The Edge of Destruction, which should be exciting after yet another cliffhanger. Spoilers. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Shout out to my good friend Andreas, who actually got me into Doctor Who way back in high school, and it was thanks to him owning the beginning box set that I managed to watch the Daleks way back then. The next episode will be right here, so feel free to click there when it's up, and hopefully you'll see me next time.